Okay, good evening, everyone. This week's Parsha is Parshas Beha'alotcha, Tavshin Pei. The Parsha begins, this is Perek Ches Pasuk Beis, chapter 8, verse 2. Daber al Aaron v'amar Elab, speak to Aaron and say to him, Beha'alotcha es haneros, when you bring up the lamps, the candles of the menorah, el mul pnei menorah, towards the front of the menorah, yi'ir shavas haneros, shall the 7 candles burn. So Aaron is being told that when he lights the menorah, the lights should be in a way that the wicks are all tilted inwards so that the lights of the menorah are facing towards the middle branch. That's the directions that Hashem is telling Aaron, Moshe to tell Aaron how to light the menorah. There's a famous Rashi here and a famous Ramban, Nachmanides, famous comments of theirs as to the juxtaposition of the beginning of this week's Parsha about the menorah and the end of last week's Parsha, which was when the Torah tells us how the princes of the tribes brought gifts in honor of the dedication of the tabernacle, of the Mishkan, of the Mizbeach, of the altar. So what's the connection between the two? The fact that the Torah talks about one next to the other very often is, we look to the Medrash, very often will give a explanation as to why they're next to each other. So Rashi brings down the question, why is the portion dealing with the menorah next to the portion of the dedication of the princes? Because when Aaron saw the dedication that the princes performed, which were gifts and sacrifices that each one brought, he became very upset that he was not with them in this dedication. Not he nor his tribe. Hashem said to him, don't worry, your portion, what you do, is greater than what they do. Because you light the candles in the morning and the evening. That is what Rashi cites from the Medrash. Aaron was disappointed, upset that he was not part of the Chanukas HaMizbeach, dedication of the altar. And Hashem said to him, what you do is greater than that, because you're going to be lighting the candles of the menorah in the Mishkan, the tabernacle, every day, morning and evening. So Beha'alotcha haneros, the portion that deals with this mitzvah of lighting the menorah, is right after the discussion of the dedication of the princes, because it was that dedication that brought Aaron Chalisha Sadas, disappointment, and Hashem comforted him with the menorah. So the Ramban asks the following question: if Hashem wanted to comfort, he wanted to tell Aaron not to feel bad, because look what you have. So why did he choose the menorah? The menorah was in the morning and the evening, but so was the Ketores. The incense that was brought was morning and evening. There were many sacrifices that only he and his tribe and the Kohanim would be able to bring. There was a special meal offering every day that the Kohen brought in the morning and in the evening. What about the special service of Yom Kippur that only a Kohen Gadol could do when he goes into the Holy of Holies? What about the fact that, again, he is the servant of God, he and his tribe, they are the servants of God? Why is the only thing that's going to bring him peace of mind is the idea of the menorah? If Aaron is bothered that he didn't participate in this dedication, how is the menorah more comforting than any other thing, any other service in the Beis HaMikdash that's done? And then the Ramban asks another question. What was exactly bothering Aaron? The sacrifices that he brought was even more than the sacrifices that the princes gave. Up to this point, up to that episode, up to this point, there were the 7 days of training, so to speak, that Aaron and his sons lived in the Mishkan. They brought sacrifices. They brought a lot more sacrifices in initiating the Mishkan, more than what the Nesiim did when they brought their gifts after the Mishkan was erected. Look at everything that Aaron was doing. He brought so many karbanos. What is bothering him exactly? They participated in the initiation of the dedication of the Mizbeach. But look what you did. You were doing something very similar. You were bringing all those sacrifices and part of the Yemei Miluim in the days of being trained, of being anointed. You were also being sacrifices. Do you think those sacrifices were just practice? What was it, batting practice? These were sacrifices. They also had to do with the initiation of the tabernacle and the service there in the Mishkan. So what's bothering him exactly? He did a lot more than what these princes did. Says the Ramban, the Imtaima, you'll say, well, wait a minute, there's a difference. What Aaron did during those 7 days, he was obligated to do. The princes gave a voluntary gift, so he lost out on the voluntary gift. He didn't have a chance to participate in the voluntary gift. That's what's bothering him. And that asks the Ramban, if that's what's bothering him, then how does the menorah make up for it? The menorah is also obligatory. It's not voluntary. So how does that take care of the problem? So the Ramban, again, has two questions on this medrash that Rashi cites. Number one, how is the menorah more comforting to Aaron than anything else? And what was bothering Aaron? What about all the sacrifices that he brought during his days of Miluim as the Mishkan was erected? And if the point was that was obligatory and what the Nesiim did was voluntary, well, the lighting menorah is also obligatory. How does it make up for it? These are the questions that the Ramban asks. Now, I just want to bring out a point before all of this, before we move on to the answer. And that is, let's ask a question. Why didn't Aaron participate in the Chanukah HaMizbeach? Why didn't he and his tribe participate in this dedication? So the answer is, or I believe the answer is, because Aaron and his sons, they themselves, they have these 7 days of Miluim, the 7 days of training. They're doing a dedication too. They're bringing sacrifices also. They're doing the sacrifice that they're bringing during that period of time. And it's not just batting practice. They were also initiating the service of the Mishkan in that way. And they're going to be the ones continuing to do the service in the Mishkan. The princes are getting a one-time deal to do something when it comes to erecting the Mishkan, when it comes to establishing the Mishkan. They're getting a chance to go ahead and bring a gift in honor of that. But after that, they're gone, they're out. And now everything is the Kohanim and Leviim. They're taking care of everything. They're running everything. They're running the show. They don't need to participate in this dedication. Number one, they're actually participating in the dedication of the sacrifice that they brought. And if you'll say, well, that's only the Kohanim, what about the Leviim, the rest of the tribe of Levi? Their job is going to be to take care of the Mishkan. They're going to run the Mishkan. They're going to take care of it. It's just not for them to be part of this dedication because they're the ones who are going to be there all the time and taking care of things. The Nesiim, representing the Jewish people, they're going to do something. They're going to have a part in establishing the Mishkan. Fine, very good. But the Kohanim, the Leviim, they don't have to participate in this. They're the ones who take care of everything. They run the show. They don't need to participate in this kind of Chanukah and this dedication because they're doing everything. Nonetheless, Aaron understands, okay, perhaps it makes sense why we did not participate. Perhaps it makes sense. Unless we're going to say that Aaron just kind of realized that, oh, he blew it, he missed out on it. But it doesn't seem like that from the way Hashem responds. He wasn't supposed to be. And I think the real answer lies in what we said before. He was by the Miluim. He was doing his thing by the Miluim. Everybody understood that it wasn't necessarily his place to be involved in it. It wasn't meant for him to be involved in it. Nonetheless, he still felt bad. He understood that the dedication done by the Nesiim was a great thing. It was a great mitzvah. And although Aaron has his own mitzvahs to do, that's not enough for Aaron. Aaron wants to do more. Yes, I have my sacrifices. I have Miluim sacrifices. But the princes did something unique in honor of the dedication of the Mizbeach. And he just felt bad that he didn't have a part of that. Because someone like Aaron always wants to do more mitzvahs. He always wants to come closer to Hashem. He always wants to participate in something that brings honor to Hashem. So he felt bad that he was left out of that great gift and great act of honor and dedication that the princes did. He felt bad that he didn't have the opportunity to do it. Was he supposed to? He wasn't supposed to. It wasn't meant for him. But he felt bad after seeing what they did and seeing something that he didn't participate in, something that he didn't have a part of. He was very disappointed in that. So Hashem comforted him. Out of Hashem's love for Aaron, out of Aaron's love for mitzvahs, and getting closer to Hashem, Hashem comforted him. And he told him, you have the menorah. You have the menorah. You don't have to feel bad that you were left out of this. You have the menorah. Okay. So then the Ramban says, well, what's special about the menorah more than the other services? And then he asks, and what's bothering him? All the sacrifices that he brought, that's the same. That's the same. It's the same thing as what the princes did. His bringing the sacrifices, that was initiating the service into the Mishkan. That's the same thing as what they did. So when he felt left out, what's he left out of? He's doing the same thing. Maybe you'll say, well, what he had to do was obligatory. What they did is voluntary. And the question is, okay, but the menorah is also obligatory. How does it help? So those are the questions of the Ramban. Answers the Ramban that what's happening here is that when Hashem tells Aaron, when you light the candles, and Hashem says to Aaron, that you have the menorah, yours is greater because your portion is greater. What you do is greater because you light the menorah, is really referring to the future. It's referring to, as he brings down the Medrash says, Aaron saw 12 tribes bringing the gifts. His tribe wasn't involved. He felt bad. There's going to be another dedication that has with it the lighting of the candles of the menorah. And I will bring it about for the Jewish people through your children. Miracle, salvation, and a dedication that is called by their name. That's referring to the rededication of the second Beis HaMikdash in the days of the Chashmonaim in the Hanukkah story. That is what is being alluded to here. Hashem's response to Aaron is, Yesh Hanukkah Acheres. If you're upset that you didn't participate in this Hanukkah, okay, you're because you want more. You want more. You want to do something, so to speak, voluntary. That much, yeah. You were doing like them, but you were doing it obligatory, and they did it voluntary. So you lost out on a voluntary dedication gift to Hashem, to the Mishkan in honor of Hashem. If you feel bad about that, you know what? There's going to be another dedication that your descendants are going to be involved in. A dedication that has in it a special lighting of the menorah. And what's that? The dedication took place in the times of Hanukkah, which were done through the descendants of Aaron, the Kohanim, the Chashmonaim, who are referred to as the Maccabim. They were Kohanim. They were the ones who led the rebellion against the Greeks. So Hashem says to Aaron, if you're upset that you didn't have you didn't participate in dedication here, don't worry. You will be participating in a dedication that will take place many years later, a dedication that will happen through your children, and will be a dedication that culminates with the lighting of the menorah, referring to the miracle of the menorah by Hanukkah. And all that lies in these words, Beha'alotcha, when you light the menorah. You have the menorah. Your portion is greater than them because you have the menorah. What is that? What does that mean? It really is alluding to the Hanukkah menorah, the Hanukkah lights. You missed out on this dedication. There will be a dedication that comes about through you, and it will happen in your descendants. They will make a Hanukkah. They will make a dedication of the Beis HaMikdash that will culminate with a miracle of the menorah. That's what lies here in mentioning the menorah. That is how Hashem comforted Aaron. Comforted Aaron by saying, you feel bad that you missed out on a Hanukkah. You feel bad you missed out on, so to speak, on your own doing something on your own to dedicate the Beis HaMikdash. Your descendants will take it from within themselves, take it upon themselves to bring back to sacrifice themselves to bring back the service of the Beis HaMikdash to the Jewish people in the times of Hanukkah. You will participate in a Hanukkah that will have a miracle of the menorah. You will participate in that because your descendants will bring that about. They will find it within themselves to go ahead and rededicate the Beis HaMikdash through their self-sacrifice. And that's how Aaron is comforted. He feels bad that he missed out here on the voluntary Hanukkah. The Sea and the princes on their own decided to bring gifts in honor of the dedication, of the Mizbeach, of the altar. You feel bad about that? You will do that. It'll come about through your descendants. They will also perform a Hanukkah, a dedication of the altar. It will have the menorah, the miracle of the menorah in it, and that's how you should be comforted. Don't feel bad that you missed out on the Hanukkah, because you, in your descendants, will eventually have do a dedication of the Mizbeach, a dedication of the altar, and that'll be in the times of Hanukkah. That, says the Ramban, is really what lies here. When Hashem says to Aaron, when you light the candles, that you should be comforted that you didn't participate in the Mizbeach, it's really alluding to the Hanukkah lights. And the Hanukkah, the dedication of the Beis HaMikdash, that will have with it the great miracle of the Hanukkah menorah. Now, it's very interesting that this all lies in the Beha'alotcha. It lies in, this is all lying in when Hashem is telling Aaron about lighting the menorah now. But okay, he's saying that in the comforting sense, the allusion is to the Hanukkah lighting that will take place later. So that's one medrash that the Ramban brings to answer this question. Then he brings another medrash. Hashem said to Moshe again, Aaron is upset that he didn't participate in the dedication. Al tisyare, don't be afraid. You're going to have something greater. The animal sacrifices are only practiced when we have a Beis HaMikdash, when we have a temple. But the candles of the menorah will be eternal. They will always burn. And the blessings that I've given you to bless the Jewish people are not going to be but will never come to an end. Okay, so according to this medrash, what is Hashem telling Aaron to be comforted with? Look, the princes brought sacrifices. Sacrifices are only things that are temporary. They can only be around as long as there's a Beis HaMikdash around. But the candles of the menorah, the lighting of the menorah, that's eternal. So your part is greater because of the fact that what you're going to do is going to be for eternal. The kind of thing that the princes did is a kind of thing that's temporary. It's dependent on having a Beis HaMikdash and having a holy temple. That's what they did. They did a great thing. You, Aaron, don't feel bad that you didn't participate because you have something even greater. You have something that's going to be eternal. Now, says the Ramban, wait a minute. The same way you need a Beis HaMikdash to have the sacrifices, you need a Beis HaMikdash to have the menorah. What does it mean that the lighting of the menorah will go on for all generations? The answer is, again, says the Ramban, we see that what we're really referring to here is the Hanukkah menorah. Is really the Hanukkah lights. No Beis HaMikdash, no candles, a menorah. This again is an allusion to the candles of the Hanukkah of the Chashmonaim. That's what an allusion to. And again, if you're talking about, that you want to say that these candles, because the burning of the candles continues even after the destruction in our exile. That means Ramban is telling us an incredible thing. Ramban is saying that when Hashem tells Moshe to tell Aaron that the Hanukkah menorah that you're lighting is eternal, and the Ramban says that means the Hanukkah menorah that we light even without a Beis HaMikdash in exile, the Hanukkah candles we burn every Hanukkah, that's the same candles as the candles of the menorah, the Beis HaMikdash. Because that's what Hashem is telling to Aaron. You're lighting the menorah, that's eternal. What do you mean? That menorah lighting is not eternal. That ends with the Beis HaMikdash. Now we have another thing that we do to commemorate a miracle of the menorah. It's called the Hanukkah candles. It's just you think it's just a memorial to it. You wouldn't say it's the continuity of it. That's the Ramban saying. Ramban is saying the Hanukkah candles that we light every Hanukkah is a continuity. It's the same light. It's that same spiritual energy as the lights of the menorah in the Beis Hamikdash. It's an incredible concept. But and so too you have the Berachas Chayanu, the priestly blessings. And again, without a Beis Hamikdash, they're done. So the way that Aaron is comforted, according to this medrash, is by saying that what he does is eternal. The lighting of the menorah is eternal. What the kind of thing that the princes did was temporary or dependent on the Beis Hamikdash. What you do, that is eternal. So what exactly lies in this medrash? What is Hashem saying to Aaron? Oh, you're better because your thing lasts for eternity? What is exactly the point? You're making Aaron feel better because, you're better than them because your thing lasts longer. It's a competition. Whose thing will last longer? What exactly, how is Aaron comforted in the fact that he didn't participate in the Chanukah, in the dedication, by saying, yeah, but your kind of thing, that lasts for eternity. Yours is better. You have a better thing. Don't worry about that. You have a better thing. Is that all that Hashem is saying? I mean, what it's going to do it better? Aaron wanted to participate in the Chanukah, in the Chanukah HaMizbeach. He wanted to participate in the dedication. And by saying that, well, that kind of thing is only temporary. Yours thing is forever. What's the point? How does that comfort Aaron? So perhaps the explanation in this lies in an idea that I saw brought down in a comment made about this Ramban. It's brought down, I saw it brought down in an article from a website called Din Online, which is actually a website that is part of a base in a rabbinical court in Yerushalayim, in Jerusalem. And they have a website and a thought on the Parsha every week. And based on that, I will share with you that the idea to explain this part of the Ramban. And it would be like this, that the idea of pointing out that Aaron's mitzvah is eternal is taking what the princes did in the Chanukah HaMizbeach and the dedication of the Mizbeach and comparing the two, because there was something that was happening here that they were both doing the same type of thing. When we talk about a Chanukah HaMizbeach, dedication of the Mizbeach, the Nesiim, the princes, brought these karbonos, these gifts and these sacrifices for the dedication of the Mizbeach. So what was it? Just an honor gift? A homecoming gift? Homewarming gift? What was it? It was just a gift that was an honor of the time? It was just an honor, praise to Hashem? What was it exactly? So when we talk about the word chinuch, or Chanukah chinuch, which means to inaugurate, to dedicate, that's also the word that we use when we educate a child. Chinuch is education. That's the training that we do. We train them to get into the practice of Torah, of the Jewish religion. There's a pasuk in Mishnah that says, "Chanech lenar al pi darkai," train the child based on his way. Gam ki yasken lo yaser mimena, so that when he gets older, he will not deviate from it. Train the child according to his way means that when you train a child, you have to make sure you understand what makes the child tick, what are his talents, what are his weaknesses, what are his strengths. You have to make sure that the training is al pi darkai, is one that fits for this child. But the point of that training is so that when he gets older, he won't go ahead and he won't stray from it. When we talk about training, we're talking about training in which we want to initiate them in a way that this will stay with them forever. You're not just training them, you're not just teaching them a craft, which maybe they'll use, maybe they won't use, they'll decide. The goal of training our children in Torah mitzvahs is to train them in a way that this will initiate them into a life of Torah and it will stay with them. So when you talk about a Chanukah chinuch, a dedication, what you're doing is you're initiating something in a way that what you're doing will stay with them forever. So when we talk about a Chanukah HaMizbeach, a dedication of the altar, what we're really talking about is not just, again, something in honor, but rather initiating the altar in a way that it will now, from now on, be able to do its job as long as it lasts. It wasn't just a gift. This gift imbued the altar with its spiritual power to be the altar that the sacrifice of the Jewish people would be brought upon, that would bring atonement and closeness and bring the Jewish people close to Hashem, as the word karban, karov, close, means. It wasn't just going to happen on its own. It wasn't just even going to happen by being built. It had to be dedicated. It had to be initiated. Something had to be done to bring it into the service in a way that it would have the power to do that service, the spiritual power to do that service, for as long as it could. That is what the gifts of the Nesiim did. It wasn't just a gift. It was a Hanukkah. It was a dedication. The thoughts and that they put into these gifts, the gifts and the thoughts that were put into it, that would now have tremendous heavenly ramifications in the upper worlds and bring about the energy into this altar to be able to bring atonement to the Jewish people for as long as it existed. And that came about through the Hanukkah, through this dedication performed by the princes. Hashem says to Aaron, if that's what you feel bad about that you missed out on, you missed out on this ability to be able to imbue something with its power, with a power that will last for 4 generations. Guess what? You do that too. Through your lighting of the menorah and through your dedication of lighting the menorah, your menorah is going to be eternal. The effects that you make, the power that you imbue something to last and to be able to do what it does for as long as it lasts, isn't just going to be dependent on a Beis HaMikdash. Isn't just going to be dependent on this menorah of the Beis HaMikdash. It will last for all generations because it will continue in the lights of the Hanukkah menorah. And therefore, what you do and the power that you invest in what you're doing, and you invest it with a power that will last for as long as it can, that's going to go even longer than what the Nesiim did. Because the Nesiim are creating a power for sacrifices. Sacrifices depend on the Beis HaMikdash. What you do, and what you're investing power into, and what you're giving, what you're imbuing, the power that you're imbuing is the power of the menorah that's going to last for all generations. And when is that? And how is that? Through the Hanukkah menorah. So perhaps that is what the meaning of this second medrash is, where Hashem tells Aaron that yours is going to last forever. And what's the point? The point is that you too are performing what a Hanukkah does. The same thing that the Mizbeach, the dedication of the Mizbeach that the Nesiim princes did, that imbued it with the power to accomplish what it needs to do, to give it the spiritual energy to bring atonement for the Jewish people through sacrifices, and you feel bad you missed out on that, don't feel bad. You do the same thing. And what you're going to be doing will last forever. You are creating the power and the energy of the menorah through your lighting that will enable that power and light to last for eternity. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is later on in the Parsha. Later on in the Parsha, we find that Moshe tells Hashem that the load of the Jewish people upon me is great. I can't carry it on my own. I need help. So Hashem tells Moshe, okay, I will give you 70 elders to help you. Now, to have 70 elders out of 12 tribes, it would have been 72. You could have had 6 from each one. But now it would come out that there would be 2 tribes that only have 5. So the way that Moshe was told to figure out who should be the elders was actually to take 6 from each tribe and then make a lottery in which there would be 70 pieces of paper that say on it Zakein, elder, and 2 blanks, and people would come and choose and realize if they got the one that says Zakein, that then they would go and join Moshe at the Mishkan, where Hashem would bring prophecy onto Moshe, which from Moshe would then go to the other elders to prophesize, which would be their initiation into their jobs. Okay. Well, the Torah tells us that when the elders went with Moshe, they began to prophesize that there were 2 people named Eldad and Medad were actually prophesying by their tents, not with Moshe. And what happened there was that when Eldad and Medad were chosen to be the 2 of the Zakins were the elders, they thought they weren't worthy, so they didn't join. Well, Hashem said, you're worthy, because they started prophesying at home. They were supposed to be at the Mishkan, the tabernacle, with Moshe prophesizing, and it didn't happen. It still happened to them, even though they weren't there with Moshe at the Mishkan. Okay, now, Targum Yonasan. We know that we have the Targum Onkelos, the Aramaic translation of the Torah of Onkelos. Onkelos is typically a word-for-word translation with a little bit of commentary thrown in sometimes. While there's another Targum, another Aramaic translation of the Torah, interpretation of the Torah, that actually brings in a lot of commentary and brings in a lot of what we call medrash. So who are Eldad and Medad? Who were they? So Targum Yonasan tells us a fascinating thing. Fascinating. Eldad and Medad were the sons, say the Targum Yonasan ben Uziel. Yonasan ben Uziel was a Tana, a sage of the Mishnah. And he said they were the children, the sons of a man named Elisaphan ben Parnach. Okay, who was their mother? Their mother was Yocheved, the daughter of Levi. You know who that is? That's Moshe Rabbeinu's mother. And we know, and when did Yocheved have these two children? When Amram, her husband, divorced her, she married Elazar ben Parnach, had two children, then got divorced from him, went back to Amram, and had Moshe Rabbeinu. So Eldad and Medad were the half brothers of Moshe. Half brothers of Moshe. Now, it's an interesting piece of information, and there's one thing I want to share with you about this. That is the following. Okay, so basically what's happening is, and we know this from the Gemara in Saita says that when the decree of all the boys will be thrown into the Nile came about, Abram divorced his wife, saying that, if all the boys are going to be drowned in the water, then there is no purpose for the marriage to continue. Think about it. If there's only Jewish girls, who are they going to marry? And by these people, if there's possibility for children, there's a point in marriage. If there isn't, then there isn't a point in marriage. That's how they live. Now, so when that decree came out, Amram divorced his wife, Yocheved. Yocheved was the daughter of Levi. She was older than him, a lot older than him. And she was a daughter of Levi. And he divorced her. They had already had children, Aaron and Miriam. They had Aaron and Miriam already. Moshe wasn't born yet. And he divorced Yocheved. The Gemara says that when everybody saw Amram, who's the Gadol Hadar, he was the greatest leader of the generation at that time, everybody did the same thing. The Gemara says that Miriam went over to her father, and she told him, look, you're worse than Paro. Paro only wants to destroy the boys, and you're basically destroying the boys and the girls. You're a tzaddik, and what you do is going to be fulfilled. Paro is a Russia. Not for sure he's an evil person. His acts aren't like a decree from heaven. Yours are. And he's only taking them away from this world, and you're by not letting them be born as you are, they have no chance for the world to come. She convinced her father, says Amram took his wife back. Everybody took their wives back, and after Amram took his wife Yocheved back, that is when Moshe Rabbeinu was born. That's what the Gemara says. No mention of anything else. Here we have the Targum Yonasan throwing in something new. That actually, during the period of time that they were divorced, she remarried someone. And she had two sons. And then she went back to Amram. So there's an obvious question. There's a lot of questions here, but one obvious question is that the Torah says if a man divorces his wife and she marries someone else, he cannot take her back, and she gets divorced or widowed from the second husband. Not to take her back. So how could Amram have remarried her? So this is a famous question that really has to be asked. This is before the Torah was given. And we're making an assumption that, which we know, the Gemara tells us, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov kept the Torah before the Torah was given. So really this question applies to Amram at an earlier point. Amram married Yocheved. Yocheved was his aunt. If Yocheved is the daughter of Levi, Amram is the son of Kahas, who is the son of Levi. Gershon, Kahas, and Merari. He had three sons, Levi. This was Kahas' sister. It was the daughter of Levi. That makes Yocheved the aunt of Amram. Not let him marry an aunt. I can marry an aunt. If they kept the Torah beforehand, I can marry an aunt. That's a question that's asked. Together with the same question, how did Yaakov marry two sisters? Okay, whatever way that's answered, the Ramban says they only kept the Torah while in Eretz Yisrael, not while they were not in Eretz Yisrael. Whatever answer you're going to give, Nefesh HaChaim says it's true. They kept the Torah, but when they understood though that there is something necessary to be done that doesn't conform to what the Torah says, they did it. Yaakov understood he has to marry Rachel and Leah. That's why he did it. Amram understood that he's supposed to marry Yocheved, and therefore, when there was a need, when they understood there was a special need to do something, they didn't follow the Torah because they weren't obligated to. And that'll be the same answer here. In essence, being that there was no Torah yet, there was no actual law that forbade her to marry Amram again, and Amram understood that he should marry her again, which was the right thing to do because Moshe Rabbeinu was born from it. But here's this very interesting piece of information: who these people were, Eldad and Medad, half brothers of Moshe. They had the same mother, and they were born from the marriage of Yocheved to Elazar ben Parnach. That while after she was divorced from Amram, she had these two sons. And then after that, she went back to Amram and had Moshe Rabbeinu. Wish you all a good night. Take care. Be safe.